Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It is another Thursday. Here we are again, running with scissors. I'm so glad to see a few of you have joined me, some of my regulars. If you are new to this live stream, I'd love for you to say hello and tell us where you're from. So I see Nancy already has a question. She was really quick with that one today about the cicadas. Nebraska actually had its cicada return a few years ago. I want to say it was maybe 3 years ago at this point, and they were very loud. But they didn't really bother us. I mean, you just get the little shells that they come out of, and then they don't really bug you. It's really not bad. So yeah, I know they've been talking about that on the East Coast, that they're going to have the cicadas coming, but that's not us this time. So they're all on like different 19-year cycles, and we've already had ours recently. So anyway, I mean, we do get cicadas kind of off cycle. But they're usually not as loud. I mean, it was so loud that you couldn't hear on the golf course. It was crazy. Anyway, enough about cicadas. Holy moly. What do we got going on today? We are going to be doing another turnabout design. You're welcome, Nancy. We're going to be doing another turnabout design today. And before we get started with that, I'm actually going to go back and talk about the turnabout process, because Penny reached out to me and I missed a pivotal step. And that's something that kind of happens when you have done something before and you think, oh yeah, I know how to do this, and you don't go back and like review exactly how the process works. Sometimes you skip a step because you're like, oh yeah, I get it. Anyway, we're going to go over exactly how to use the turnabout again today, and I'm going to show you a couple of different reasons why you have to kind of do things in order. Let's see. Paula says, oh, you used to have you had cicadas too. Aha. Yes, exactly. The little shells, and used to have little fights with them. The first time I saw cicadas, I was a little kid, and I remember trying to collect all the cicada shells. They were not scary to us at that time. Now they're just kind of gross. All right, so hey, let's get to some quick announcements. Pretty much the same announcements as last week. We do have the workshop coming up at the end of the month. I still have a few seats available for that if you would like to join. The link is down below in the description. The May Sketch Starter Challenge is open. I finally got that set up. It's going to go through the end of the month, so I will announce the winners actually the first week in June. The timing works out better that way with the gift certificates. Let's see, the June stamp focus. We talked about that a couple of weeks now. We're going to mix and match all of our sets from January through now, so that way we can continue to use the stamp sets that we've already collected, not let them collect dust on our shelves. Yes. And then, of course, as always, I truly appreciate all of your support in liking and sharing out the video here while we're live, and also by using the affiliate links. So if you have to do some craft shopping, if you'd like to do some craft shopping, either way, there's links down below that will take you to various stores that I'm an affiliate with. And if you do some shopping there after you've used one of those links, I might get a small commission, and that's always at no additional cost to you. And it's a super easy way to support crafters in the community that you really like, and that you get a lot of value out of their content. All right. Yes, the mix and match I think is going to be a ton of fun. I need to start working this week on those projects. So I'll have a little report back to you next week on what I think we're going to have, and how those are going to really turn out. So, and by then it'll be time to open up the June class. So we'll be good to go with that. All right, so we have a few cards to share, and I asked you guys to share with me like your befores and afters. And I did get some from Ms. Tamp via email. And I told her that I was going to share Penny's reminder today. So we're definitely going to talk about that. Okay, so I wanted to do a little throwback here. So Anne posted this a couple of days ago. She did another birthday project with the cupcake, which is totally cute. A little riff off of one of the projects that we had done recently. This is very similar to the one that we did in the class. And then she just had some other cards that she shared along with that. But the cupcake one caught my eye because that was something similar to what we had done in one of our virtual classes. So we'll be bringing the stamp set back as a part of the Mix and Match month next month. All right. And then she also had some results from her turnabouts. And so here is one of Anne's Turnabout projects. So cute. And she used, okay, so these little enamel dots here, you see these guys? They're glow in the dark. Oh, so she did like a little picture with them glowing in the dark, and they're adorable. It's so cool, like a fun little twist on that. If they didn't know, if the recipient didn't know they were glow in the dark, and they were like walking through where they had the card sitting up, and it was nighttime, that might be kind of crazy. They'd be like, oh my gosh, my card is glowing. But I love it. I think it's really, really great. All right, and then Penny shared her project. And so this is what we're going to talk about here in a minute. Okay, so you see how in Penny's card, she's got overlap here, and she's got some overlap here, and here, and here, and here. So that like, everything is kind of smushed a little bit. And I think this is what Ms. Tamp was talking about last week. As she was playing along, she says, things look kind of smushed. And I think this was it. So as you can see, they're kind of smushed. So in her second attempt, everything is much better spaced. And that's because she went back and looked at the Learn to Turn instructions that come with the kit. So we are actually going to do that. Thank you, Penny, for sharing here and for reaching out to me about this. Because, yeah, it was like just a grave oversight. And I'm going to show you why it was a grave oversight. Okay, so great projects from both Penny and Anne. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. And you'll be in the running for cards for next from this month. All right, so let me switch over to split hands. Okay, we all got this with our kit. All right, and if you're using a different Concord and Ninth turnabout, that's a large turnabout, you don't have these instructions, this is really good that we're going to go through this. Okay, so we got the first part last week where we put the turnabout image on the alignment aid. And then I had you put it right into your MISTI and close the lid and everything. So what we skipped was step 2 here. And let me pull this up here real close. It says corner the turnabout jig on the MISTI, making sure the 1 is in the right corner, then align the X of the alignment aid on top of the X of the jig. So does that sound like Greek to you? Yeah, probably. Okay, so I'm going to show you what that means. Okay, so this is the turnabout jig. It has an X in the middle of it. All right, you see that dotted X in there? That X is supposed to match up with your alignment aid. So this is the aid that you're going to put your stamp on. You need to line that up with the X here. And okay, you see what happens. If your alignment aid is not cut perfectly, you're going to have like a little bit, there's like a little bit where it's really hard to tell because it's clear on clear. But you see how there's like a little bit, they don't line up perfectly in the corner here. There's just a little bit where it doesn't line up. And that little bit will cause your turnabout to not line up as you're turning, okay? It doesn't seem like it's such a big deal with the larger turnabouts, but as you can see from Penny's example, let's go back to Penny's example here. So the first card, she didn't have it lined up on the jig and things smushed. The second card, she did what was suggested and aligned everything up on the jig to make sure that it was all going to turn perfectly square, and she got a perfect result. Okay, so it doesn't seem like a big deal here, but when you're working with smaller turnabouts, that's definitely going to be an issue. Okay, so I thought I would demonstrate this to you with a smaller turnabout so you can see why you need to do this. Okay, so this is the Spirograph turnabout set. It was a free gift a couple, I don't know, probably over a year ago, but they do have it in the, they do have it available now as a standalone stamp set. Okay. So this is a small turnabout, right? It comes with the jig. It comes with everything that you need. All right. So you could even do this one on, well, you could maybe do it on a mini MISTI, but you'd have to have a smaller jig. Okay. So I'm going to zoom us in here and then I'm going to switch to my hands so we can see even better. Okay, so here we are, MISTI, and I'm going to show you the corner here. All right, I've got my turnabout jig. I'm going to put my turnabout jig in place right now because we know we need this. And then I've got my center alignment aid, and I've got my stamp. Okay, so I match up my stamp to my alignment aid. This one's easy to align because it's just a smaller stamp. All right, so I got that on there. Now, see what would happen if I was trying to do like a big piece and I put this down in the corner. Obviously, that's not going to work, right? So there's always a center rotation point X on these pieces. And so you need to get this right. I mean, I got to stick my head right over it to get that centered on my jig sheet. And then I can grab it, pull this off. So now this can stay here, and I can put any size cardstock on here that I want. All right, I don't even have, this is not even 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's a little smaller, that's okay. And then I'm going to stamp it for you so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so I hope this is making sense. We're going to go back and do the other one too, so you'll see exactly how that works. Okay, so I'm just pulling up my colors from our little cube set. So I'll do the grapefruit. All right. And then turn it. Now, so this is when you should really start to know if things are working out or not. All right, let me grab my needed a towel. So this one is designed to overlap like a spirograph, if you're familiar with what a spirograph is from days of yore. One of my favorite toys as a child. All right, so then I'll do Aqua Sky. And then the last flip on this is going to be Peacock. All right, so you can see, whoo, sorry about that, that this is all nice and lined up. It's a nice circle. It worked pretty perfectly. Okay, so let's try the same concept with the Painted Petals set and show you exactly how that's supposed to be lined up. Okay, so I'm going to try to demonstrate the shift to you that I see in my particular stamp set when I do this properly. Okay, so get this out of the way. Pull this guy out. We need to set this up anyway because we are going to use it today again, obviously. Okay. Okay, so as we talked about last week, we're going to take our sheet here and get this laying over it perfectly. All right, that looks good. Okay, now last week I just took this and smushed the lid on it and said, called it good, right? Okay, here's a problem with that. If this piece isn't cut perfectly, it's not the same size as your jig. So I'm going to put the jig in place. And I'm going to put this over the top and align the X that's on here with the dotted X that's on my jig so that they're both up in the center line and everything. And I really do have to like put my head right over this in order to see it. Okay. So now that I have that in place, what I see here, you see? The clear sheet does not touch the bottom of the MISTI. So just that little like 32nd of an inch makes a difference. So I've got it on my jig. It's aligned with the X. Now I can pick it up. Okay. And then I can take this. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now we can put in our jig and a piece of cardstock, whatever size it may be. It doesn't even matter where I put this cardstock right now. I'm going to turn it 4 times and it's going to get the pattern. It just depends on like where the center of the pattern is going to turn up. Depending on, you know, where I put my paper. If I want the center of the pattern in the center of the paper and I want it to be even, then yes, I need to make sure my cardstock's in the middle of the jig. Okay. So now that I've got that in place, remember last week I found like the sweet spot to put my magnet. All right, let's do this one and see how this turns out different. There should be no overlap if you have done this properly. They should not be smushed. So remember step 2. All right. And I'm not going to, this is just a sample, so I'm not going to go back and like re-ink everything and make it all pretty. Okay, so then I'm going to flip side 2. Do some grapefruit. All right, so far so good. Like I have like just a hair of a little touch right here. So that may mean that I don't quite have something set up right, or it could be my paper, I don't know. But it looks a whole lot better in line. All right, flip it to side 3. Looks good. And then finally the 4th side. Yeah, they do have some smaller turnabouts, so that totally works. That step number 2 is super important for that, obviously. Hey, look at that. So I've got really nice coverage. Everything is just hitting in the right spot. Wow, that glare is really bad today. I don't know why. There, you can see it for a second. Looks good. Okay, and then I went ahead and messed something up. So give me a second here. I need to clean this up anyway. So let me fix my, hey, there we go. That's good. All right, so let me clean off my rag and we will pop that in there so you can take a look at it. Okie dokie. Oh, Penny made a shaker. Well, we'll get it for next week. All right, so yeah, Miss Tamp, try it again. Remember step 2. And everything should be better. Although your pictures, the before and after, you did have a better one the second time around, but this will make it even better. Okay, so today, let me show you the project. We don't even need these today. because we're not gonna use them. Pop those away. All right, today's project is this card, which you saw in the preview slide, of course, but totally gorgeous. Lots of fun. And the turnabout is here in the circle. All right, it's very abstract because we're going to use our, I knew that was going to happen too, our Altsinu metallic watercolors. Yay! Okay, so we've used these before. So if you've got them, it's time to pull them out again. And we're going to use a couple different colors. I'm going to use copper. I'm going to use topaz, and then amethyst, which is the purple. And then I'm also going to use gold pearl. All right, so those are going to be the 4 colors that I use as we do this. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, so sometimes the best way to do this is to actually take the colors out of the tray. So there we go. That, beautiful. Okay. So what I thought I would do is just do up a whole square. I actually have one already cut up and ready to go. So this is cut not the same size as my turnabout jig. I wonder why. It should be. It's supposed to be. Apparently I didn't cut this right. All right, well, I'm not quite sure why. Like maybe my turnabout jig is short. I'll have to look into that. Anyway, so I have a piece of 6 by 6 here, and that should work just fine for this. We've already got this in place. We did step 2. We've got everything good to go. So this is faux watercoloring. We're going to do it on colored paper. So this is a piece of the Aqua Sky. All right. And then I've got my metallic watercolors here. Sue, I think you could probably do this with regular watercolor on this paper. The metallic watercolors just tend to work really well with this technique. So I'm going to do each of the 4 colors that I talked about in one of the 4 turns and get a really cool look. So the way that this works best is to get really pigmented color. So I did put some drops of water. This is just a little water dropper bottle that I like to use in here to get these guys activated. And I want them to be like a really saturated color. And I'm going to paint them on to the stamp. So this sometimes takes just a little bit of time. It's not going to be perfect because, well, it's just going to beat up a little bit. That's just the nature of this. So you see how it's kind of, it's a very dense color. I didn't want to go with something super light because I want these guys to actually show up. And it's not super watery either. So you want this to be like a nice, fairly firm consistency, enough to spread on your stamps, but not to run off. All right, so I got all of my stamps covered. Now it's going to be watercolory, right? So it doesn't need to be perfect. If you want to give it just a spritz to make sure everything is nice and activated, you can do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and just press. Now you can see it smushes a little bit as I press. That's exactly what you want to have happen because you want to get some of that design and detail and image. All right, so I'm going to just hold it for a second and let it kind of soak into the paper. You can do this on any colored paper. It looks very dramatic on black, of course. And there we go. So I've got my first turn, and that's what it looks like in a watercolor style, a loose watercolor style. All right, so wipe it down. All right, so we've got some new people that have joined that maybe haven't said hello yet. If you're new today, do give me a shout out, say hello, and where are you from? We have people from all over the world here today. We've got some people from Australia just starting their day. We have people from England just ending their day. And people from the United States just kind of in the middle of their day. All right, so now we're going to turn this 90 degrees. I'm going to pop my magnet again in the safe place. And we're going to clean our brush and go for the second color. So for my second color, I will pop into the copper down here. And again, see, I got this all already with water, so it was able to soften up the palette. And you see how dense that is? I mean, super, I got lots of paint on there. All right. So I probably have enough on my brush to do all of these at this point. And if I feel like there's too much on a flower, I can come back and grab it and use it on another one somewhere else. Like this first one especially. Doo, doo, doo. Yeah, totally had enough for the entire stamp. But that's good because it means that this isn't going to dry out while it's sitting here. I don't have to worry about re-spritzing it, nothing. Should be good to go. All right, so you can see I'm kind of going back over some of these. I just want to make sure that they're spread out on the stamp as much as possible. All right, that looks pretty good. Although when I smush it, that's going to help too. So give it a little spritz. And spritz and smush. So again, just let it sit for a second, soak into the paper. Yay! So Becca is out on her pontoon. Oh, it's cold up there. We had a cold weekend here too. We had a golf outing and it was cold on Saturday. So Teresa Penny is in Australia. And so they're into winter and fall. Fall and winter, I should say. All right. Pop that up. There we go. Pretty. All right, so look, it's not getting the full image. It's not like getting a lot of detail, but you can tell that those are flowers, and it's a beautiful, beautiful watercolor look. Sometimes instead of cleaning this off with my microfiber cloth, I just take it over to my sink and just rinse off this side because sometimes it's just easier that way. So know that that is always an option. You don't have to take it out of the MISTI, just hold the lid underneath the water and just let it rinse off. Especially when I'm working with the peacock color, so that way I don't get it all over my hands. All right, next color. So Becca said that she got a little sunburn from being on the pontoon over the weekend. I got windburn from being out golfing. All right, so next color. We're going to go into the amethyst purple. All right, so really it's just the same. It would be the same way if you were stamping it, right? You would just be stamping your different colors. And you get some practice. All right, there we go. Looks pretty good. Spritz. Can you, oh, look at that. I almost forgot to turn. That would have been bad. Okay, turn it first. Can you get a second print? Maybe. So Penny, what about me playing golf? Had a decent weekend. It was a scramble. But then I subbed last night for the Women's League and I played pretty well. I was very happy with my performance. All right. So yes, look at how much ink is still on there. If I wanted to take a second print, I absolutely could. Let's see what that looks like. Ooh. Well, let's do it on black. Okay, so yes, to Penny's point, you could definitely take a second print depending on how much ink you'd put on here. So here's black, and then you see all of that purple goodness on here. I definitely can take a print from that. I would definitely spray it, just a little spritz to get it going. There. You can't see quite yet how beautiful that is, but it's gorgeous. The black is super drama. I probably still have enough here to do another one. So actually, since we're going on our second to last color, let's do 2 purple and 2 gold on this one. All right, so again, I'm just getting that reactivated and go ahead and... So yeah, if you've done enough ink on here, you can definitely grab a second print. And with the metallics, it's totally worth it because they're so beautiful. All right, and then you don't have as much to clean up off of your stamp. Okay, so last color. So that was that way. Last turn. And the last color we're going to do is this gold up here I selected, which is Gold Pearl. And again, here, let me pull it down into the picture. I had water in here already, and you can see I just made like a really dense slurry of color with it. Yeah, so Teresa, this sparkles on everything because it's the metallic watercolors. So everything sparkles. I know you have these, so yay, another reason for you to pull them out. And Becca, it is like a slurry. It's, you know, like this is just a beautiful slurry of gold. I love that, the way that it looks. Just swirling in there, so yummy. All right. So here's that. Looks good. And pop it in place. There we go. Beautiful. So look at that. Look at all that shiny awesomeness. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning. I did this one a little bit more dense than the sample, so you'll see what that looks like. Okay, so let's finish up our print off. So we need to do 2 more turns on this one, which we will just do in the gold that we already have here. All right, and if the last, like if you're trying to get 2 turns out of it, I still have some on my brush, right? So I can just add the extra from my brush. There, that'll work. All right. Oh, we need to do that anyway. We need, I'm going to do some spatter. Splatter, splatter. Okay. So here is our stamp off for the second print. Very drama. Check that out. Love it. Both of these are just absolutely stunning. So this is just black cardstock with the metallic watercolors. And then this one is the Aqua Sky. All right. So the cool thing about both of these is that I get to set them aside and use them for another project sometime because I already have the circle cut. Okay, so we are done with our turnabout. Very Viking drum. Okay. Let's put this guy here. Back onto his carrier sheet. Okay, we're going to need the stamps off of here in a minute. So I'll just set that aside. But the last thing I want to do before I put my watercolors away is the splatter on the back of the card. So you can see I put some gold splatter on there. Just to make that white panel a little less plain, right? Because we're going to do a white panel on a white panel with the circle. And I kind of felt like it needed something. It couldn't just be plain white. So I have my panel here. It is 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm just going to take that same gold pearl with my brush and just tap on the end here and get some splatter. I'm going into the water to get a little more wet to get larger splatters. All right, a lot of this is going to be covered up, so I'm not too concerned about going overboard with it. What black cardstock did I use? It is any black cardstock. It could be, because all of my blacks I put together, like if I've gotten them from different brands, it's either Alta New, Hero Arts, Lawn Fawn, or Concord and Ninth. They all have blacks. And I think all of their blacks are very similar. When I put them next to each other, I don't notice a difference. So any black cardstock will do. You do not need to have black watercolor paper for this technique. And as you saw, you don't need to have watercolor paper, period, because this Aqua Sky paper is not watercolor paper. So I really like that you can use the metallic watercolors on non-watercolor paper and get good results. All right. So here is my splatter. And this is just a plain piece of white cardstock. It is not watercolor paper. So here's my splatter. And I'm just going to set that aside to dry. You're welcome, Nancy. Good to have. Okay, so now I am done with my watercolors. I'll put those away so that I don't get them on anything. All right. Okay, so next step is so the next step actually would be eventually you're going to want to die cut your panel using the circle die cut. All right, and just cut it out wherever you want. It doesn't even have to be in the center. It can be anywhere. And as you can see, this is the one that I did previously, and I did this a little lighter. It's not as, the colors are not as pronounced as these are. All right. So if you choose to go lighter, that's the look that you will get. All right, so I've got this cut out, and I did put a circle of foam adhesive on the back, or actually just fun foam, but you can use foam adhesive too, either way. All right, so I've got that done. I've got my background panel drying here. We need to do a little stamping and a little die cutting. Okay, so from our black cardstock, I'm going to grab the thank you. Now you can do the double-sided adhesive on here for sure. Okay, or you can use just glue. And today I will use glue. So we're going to die cut that. And then we're going to use this fun stamp here. This is all of the sentiment words. I don't know what got on here. Okay, so this is all the sentiment words. And I have a piece of white cardstock here. And we're just going to do that up with Obsidian Black, or if you have your VersaFine Clair, that will work too. I like to use my oil-based pigment inks for this particular stamp and for all label style stamps, because you can really achieve a beautiful rich color. So even though like this first time it didn't really stamp 100% black, there's still some white showing through. I can stamp this over and over again, and it's not going to degrade the words. You know how if you use a dye ink too much, it like if you stamp over and over again, the edges will get fuzzy. It's because the dye ink is sucking into the paper and then it's spreading out, right? With a oil-based pigment ink like Obsidian Black or like any of the VersaFine or VersaFine Clair, that's not going to happen because the pigment ink sits on top of the paper and it just doesn't have as, they just don't spread as much. It just doesn't have that property. So you can go over and over and over again until you get a nice dark saturated impression. All right. And see, look, all the letters on here are still nice and crisp. So I really love using my oil-based pigment inks for sentiments like that. The reverse, like the label sentiments. Okay, so this is the cool thing about, oh, put my MISTI down, about this here, is that we have one die to cut all of these guys out. So we're not going to use all of them today, but we are going to have them available for future classes and future projects. So this little stair step die fits right on top, and it cuts them out so that way there is no white border around any of it. Love this. Okay. So, so yes, Penny's remarking on her scraps storage. I'm glad you're enjoying having everything sorted and organized. It makes it so much easier if you want to go get something real quick. You know exactly where it is in your storage, which is really great. Okay, so Becca calls these kinds of stamps WOB stamps, white on black. Yeah, I guess that's what they are. All right, so die cut these guys. Okay, let's see. Yep, I cut through. All right. And then these guys, bloop, there they go. Perfect little labels every time. Check those out. Love it. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little trick here. I don't need the little bits in the center. Okay. So I've got this, and I've got my circle piece here. If you like have problems getting your sentiment in place, you know, sometimes it likes to stretch out or do funky things, right? Take this piece here and use some of that temporary tape. So the temporary tape that comes with your kit. Just put a couple little teeny tiny bits on there and pop it onto your project where you want it. All right, so now I've got it on here. I'm going to use this as a template to make sure that my die cut goes in the right place. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in on this because I don't really show you guys often me working with the with my mono glue. So All right. Hello, Make Time. Do I know you? Or is this your first time here? If it's your first time, I welcome. Glad you're here. Okay, so with the Tombow Multi, I do not push it really. I don't put any pressure on it really. I let gravity do the work for the most part. Sometimes it's just the teeniest, tiniest bit of pressure. But as you can see, I mean, like, I'm not even really squeezing it. Can you see? I mean, look at how little my thumb is moving and the glue is coming out. So if you've ever wanted to use Tombow, but you always end up with a mess, keep this in mind. You are not moving your fingers, hands very much. So, oh, hi, Orem. Haha. Welcome. So see here, it's mostly just gravity doing the work. Every once in a while, I have to do a little press with my thumb, but it's the tiniest of presses. And look at these little dots that I get with my Tombow. I very rarely use the schmear side, if you will, the other side of the Tombow container. I like to do just the littlest dots. They do not have to go everywhere. This is really great here. Okay. So then once I've got all of my glue on there, I don't want to get my fingers in the way. So I grab my little bent tweezers here and grab them and flip it over. Okay, so I've got this guy here, and now I can use this as a template to get this in place. For those of you that don't know Orem, she works for Altenew. She lives in the Philippines. We're all over the world today. Okay, Becca, that's too funny. Your family is using the microwave and your internet is buffering. That's funny. Funny, sad, kind of, because who wants to watch buffering video? Okay, so once that's down, now I can pick up my template. You can let it dry for a minute or two if you feel like you need to. There we go. Ta-da! The other way. Yeah, Penny, I don't think I've ever used the other side. 9 times out of 10, I go through an entire bottle and I've never used this side. Sometimes this side is good to use if you're doing that, if you're adding glue on like metallic papers, because when you put like lines of glue, sometimes it shows through on the metallic paper. So smearing it on will help keep that from happening. So that's about the only time I would ever really do that. All right. So there, now our sentiment is in place. And we've got our card base. And we've got our little letters. We're good to go. Yeah, and over the years, like I've created these habits with my Tombow. Like I always put the lid back on. So a lot of times you'll see I have the lid, I hold the lid in my hand while I'm putting the glue down on the cardstock. It's just, it's like a glue tick. I do that all the time now. It's just what I do. But it works for me. So I'm okay with it. So then, so Orem, this is just the gold, one of the golds, a gold pearl from the watercolor, metallic watercolors from Altenew, just spattered on here. That's it. Super easy. All right, and then this has got our Concord and 9th Turnabout on here. So this can go on. See, I had it, just leave it in my hand. And when I do a circle element like this, usually I don't center it. I put it up towards the top. It gives it a better center of weight. And then I've got my little, so I could say hello you, hello friend, hello love. I'm sorry, it says thank you. So I don't want to say hello. I want to say thank you love, thank you friend. I could say thank you, miss you, you know, all sorts of good things. See, the lid is always in my hand. I do that all the time. Pop that guy on there. Here we go. Okay. See, almost done. So now we just need to do, yay, congratulations to Anne. She's sharing a little personal info with us. She's still cancer-free. That's fabulous. All right, guys, I've got the satin gold sequins, and I'm going to do like 2 sets of 3. So I kind of want these to mimic all of the splatter that I have going on. So I can do just 1 set of 3. That would be fine. So let me show you what that would look like. I could do something like that. So 1, 2, 3. Let me zoom you guys in again. All right, so like 1, 2, 3. That's enough if you want to do that. If you want to do more, you certainly can. And I will, I'll show you my other sample. Today I'm just kind of feeling the 3, but I want you to see what it looks like with more. So that way you know you can do more. I mean, it's okay. You just don't want to go super crazy with it. Oh, excuse me. See, always with the lid, always tucked in my little finger. All right. So there's with 3. Super easy. If you wanted to do more, take a look at the sample. So here's the difference. This one really pulls in more of the splatter because I added some more sequins to kind of highlight that a little bit. So isn't that funny, like how I just added a few extra sequins and it really gives this one a totally different look than this one. Yeah. So, and I think, so Orem just said she always has a problem with her glue drying because she forgets to close the lid. I think that's why I always keep it in my hand. Is said so I don't forget to put it back on. Anyway, well, there you go, everybody. Woo. All right, so another idea for how you can use your turnabouts, you can use them as a gorgeous background in a die cut element. Awesome, right? Needs above the A and the N maybe. Yeah, you could put a couple up here if you wanted to. If I was going to do that, I mean, you know, you kind of like it plain. Sometimes you like it with the extra sequins. So if I was going to do that, I would do like so. I don't know. You don't want to get it like to look like an umlaut. That wouldn't be so good, right? I mean, and then that becomes some kind of weird non-German word. Yeah, you could do something like that for sure. So, you know, pop another large and small one together. On this one, I like that I went off of the circle. So that brings the sequence back into, it kind of brings the sequence across the whole design. So it's kind of over the top a little bit more. Got a couple down there. They just start to look a little too big. I mean, this circle is a very large space, but as soon as you put one of these medium ones on there, I think they look too big. Yeah, maybe we pair these guys up together. Something like that. Yeah, that looks pretty decent. All right, so you could do 3 sequins, or you could do lots of sequins. You just have to be a little judicious about how many sequins you're using. If you're going to go for more than 3 sequins, well, actually, even when I do 3 sequins, I put them down before I glue them, just to make sure that I'm happy with the way that they're placed. I've even been known to like put down sequins, walk away, come back the next day and look at it and say, yeah, that's where I want them to go, and glue them down. Okay. So there you go, guys. And that's it. That is our project. So 2 down, 2 to go. Next week, we're going to not use the, I think it's next week. Yeah, I'm pretty sure next week we're not using the Turnabout. We're going to use another product from Concord and 9th and another product that I was trying out from scrapbook.com. So I'm going to share with you guys about that. And we'll continue on. So next week also, I will share with you supplies and things that you'll need for the June class that will be available for registration. And don't forget to register for the May class if you haven't done that yet. For those of you that joined me last month, you've got your coupon, so you can always use that to join in on my class for a little discount. Otherwise, go ahead and click down below and register for our class at the end of the month using this stamp set. If you can't attend live, you will get the replay and have that available to go through the projects. All right, guys. That's it. So I'm so glad you joined me today. It was good to catch up with everybody. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week and a great weekend. Enjoy all of your time outside if you've got great weather. I'm so glad that it is getting to be a little warmer here. I know in other parts of the world it may not be, but maybe you like the winter time too. So anyway, guys, I will talk to you next week. And until then, happy crafting.